Okay, so I want to try to talk about time today. I've thought about it for a long time, and I've come up with the idea of how to explain it because what I've got in my head is hard to put to words. And so what I can do is kind of demonstrate the way I'm thinking is with a ribbon.
Introduction. What if I told you time isn't what it seems? That our experience of time as a flowing river might actually be an illusion, filtered and shaped by our own minds? Today we'll explore the nature of time through a simple ribbon, blending science, philosophy, and ancient wisdom to uncover hidden dimensions and patterns.
And so what I can do is kind of demonstrate the way I'm thinking is with a ribbon. And so if we look at the end of the ribbon, we see just a sliver. We don't see the entire ribbon as it flows through time. So what we're doing is we're experiencing the entire amount of time that's stored in this ribbon. We're experiencing it as just this tiny sliver, one moment at a time. And we blend them all together in this long strip, and it seems to be flowing naturally. So it's kind of like a quantized time, like time is just a little segment here that is all put together in this long, ever-flowing, attached experience.
Picture this ribbon as time. When we look at it from the end, all we see is a single point, a moment in time. This is how we experience life, moment by moment, unable to see what lies ahead or behind. But when we stretch the ribbon out, its full length is revealed. This represents the flow of time, past, present, and future laid out as one continuous thread. Even so, this view might only scratch the surface of time's deeper structure. Einstein and time's relativity, confident and clear, Albert Einstein showed us something profound. Time isn't absolute. Pause. Let it sink in. It flows differently depending on gravity and speed, revealing its relativity. Slightly faster. Time is not just a backdrop for events. It's a dimension, a part of the fabric of space-time itself, inseparably woven with space. The Mobius strip. Now, let's introduce a twist. By giving this ribbon a half turn and joining the ends, we create a Mobius strip effect. This simple twist produces something extraordinary, a shape with only one side and one edge, defying our usual sense of top and bottom. Could time itself be like this, more interconnected and complex than we've ever imagined? Spiritual cycles and patterns, reflective and calm. In many spiritual traditions, time is seen as cyclical, not linear. Gentle tone. Hindu teachings speak of yugas, great ages that repeat in a vast cosmic cycle. Buddhism describes samsara, the endless loop of birth, death, and rebirth. These ideas suggest that time isn't just a straight line, but a repeating loop, a pattern woven into existence itself. Quantum quanta and filters, curious and enlightening. In the quantum world, time behaves strangely, intrigued. On the smallest scales, it may not be continuous, but made up of tiny, indivisible units, discrete quanta of moments. Could these quanta reveal time's true nature? And what of our brains? Could they act as filters, simplifying time's complexity into a manageable, linear flow? This filter helps us survive, allowing us to predict the future, remember the past, and act in the present. But through meditation and altered states of consciousness, we might loosen this filter, glimpsing time as it truly is, interconnected and timeless. Conclusion, inspiring and open-ended. Time may not be an objective reality, but an experience, a lens shaped by consciousness as it interacts with a higher dimensional truth. Whether it flows, loops, or exists as quanta, time is a vehicle for growth, learning, and evolution. Reflective. By quieting the mind and loosening the brain's filters, we might catch glimpses of time's deeper mysteries. A timeless reality that transcends understanding but calls us to explore.
If we take this ribbon and we make a loop with it, that we experience that time over and over, like the way history reads itself. Now, if we put just a little twist in, a single twist in that loop, we get a Mobius strip. And a Mobius strip doesn't have a top or a bottom. It has one surface all the way around. So if I was to take and draw a line all the way down this strip, and I'll do it right here, and then you can see that there's no top and bottom. It's just one surface all the time. You expect it to have a front and a back, but it doesn't. So here we've got a line drawn all the way around the paper in a continuous motion, and never taking the pen off the surface. We see that there's not a top and a bottom. Now there's hidden dimensions in time, and I can show that by, if you take this and cut down that line, you would expect to have 2 loops of paper. But instead of getting 2 loops of paper, you get one thin, long, continuous piece. Now there's more hidden dimensions in that as well. And if you were to cut 3 ribbons out of that one, instead of getting 3 pieces or one giant long one, you wind up with a long one and a short one, and they're looped together in this connection. So that kind of demonstrates the way time kind of hides itself in the experience that we are accustomed to. Okay, so I made that video about time, and I was trying to show the dimensions in time. And I'm certainly not saying that time is structured like a ribbon and hidden dimensions are in a ribbon. But what I'm trying to tell you is that this is a way of thinking about time, and because time is something that is not easy to think about other than what the time is on your clock. So when I'm talking about dimensions hidden in time, I'm talking about these experiences that, like in a car wreck where time stands still, and as we age, how quickly the past seems to have gone. And all these things are different ways of perceiving time. And that is the dimensions I'm talking about in this video. Well, I hope you guys enjoy it. I know I'm not much of a video creator and all that, but, you know, I've got things in my head, and I'm trying desperately to get them out, and I hope somebody gets some kind of benefit from them. So anyway, I appreciate it if you watch it. If not, you know, hard lucks. Anyway, next time. So Albert Einstein showed us that time isn't absolute. It's relative. It's flowing differently depending on gravity and the speed. And from this perspective, time is more like a dimension, a part of space and time, and inseparable from the space itself. I showed you that twist in the ribbon and how it produces that Mobius strip that has hidden dimensions in it. And so in many spiritual traditions, time is seen as cyclical. Can't talk. So it's not linear. And the Hindu concept of yugas described repeating ages, and Buddhism speaks of samsara as a cycle of birth and death and rebirth. And this looping structure of time reflects in our physical reality. So in quantum mechanics, time behaves strangely. On the smallest of scales, it might not be continuous but made of discrete quanta. Much like this Planck time, small measurements in a unit. Could these quanta of movements hold keys to understanding time's true nature? Our brain may act as a filter, simplifying a complexity of time into a linear flow. This makes sense for survival, for predicting the future. Remembering the past and acting in the present are crucial to our goals. But what if we could loosen this filter? And I think that meditation, in altered states of consciousness, often changes our perspective of time, revealing timeless interconnections of reality. Many who meditate deeply describe feelings as if time slows, stops, or loops back on itself. And I certainly experience this all the time, and it makes me curious to what time really is. So mystics and sages have long suggested that time is an illusion. In Hinduism, they call it Maya. Zen and Buddhism, they teach us that living the eternal now beyond mind's linear constructions. So this Mobius strip, it also reminds us of history's repeating patterns. Just as the strip loops back on itself, human events, experiences often seem to reoccur. Could this fractal pattern of time, a self-similar structure at every scale? Fractal geometry shows how simple rules can create infinite complexity in patterns and perhaps time. Is fractal with this repeating cycle both personal and cosmic in scale? So ultimately, time may not be an objective reality, but an experience. So ultimately, time may not be an objective reality, but an experience, an emergent property of our consciousness interacting with a higher dimension of truth. Whether it flows in loops or exists as a quanta, it's a lens through which we can grow and learn and evolve. By quietening the mind and loosening the brain's filters, we might catch a glimpse of time's deeper mysteries, a timeless reality that transcends our understanding, but calls us to explore.